Welcome to our permanent TSB Ideal Home Show video series, Meet the Experts, our 4-episode home inspiration and expert guidance series with special guests. Today, we'll be discussing heat pumps, how they work and why now. I would like to welcome our expert, Shane Toye from Mitsubishi Electric ECODAN. Before we start the discussion, a quick reminder that the autumn show is on from Friday the 20th to Sunday the 22nd of October at the RDS Simmons Court. It promises to be a fantastic show packed with choice, expert advice and inspiration for your home. There's an early bird offer of 2 free adult tickets for a day of your choice. This is only available for a limited time, so make sure you register for your tickets as soon as you can at idealhome.ie. Shane, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let's get straight into it because we have a lot to discuss. What's the first step in upgrading your home's energy?
So the first step to be taken for any homeowner is firstly to do a BER assessment on the home. So what we have to do with the BER assessment is we have to assess, is the home eligible for an air source heat pump? And when we say eligible, that means that we want to decrease the heat loss as much as possible in the home. And for a home to be viable for an air source heat pump, it has to be a minimum of a B2 or greater BER. So the BER report will tell the homeowner what the house currently sits at and what preliminary works needs to be done to get it up to that B2 standard for an air source heat pump.
BER, it's such a buzzword and I feel like everyone hears about it, but it's really interesting to hear that that's actually the first step on the ladder, is knowing where you start. And I know statistically a lot of people don't know what their BER is, so that's something you guys can look after, get assessed and then start from there and go forward.
Yes, so the first thing everyone does or thinks about is, I want to put in an air source heat pump. But the thought process is a wee bit different in that you have to think about fabric first. So we always starts off with the phone call, I want to put in an air source heat pump, and then this starts the journey or the conversation to get the BER assessment done from an independent BER assessor, and then that's the start of your journey towards an air source heat pump.
Okay, that's really good to know, and a really easy first step to call you guys up. You know that you want to make the upgrade and then you can guide them on where they are. If they're not at a BER 2, you can start them on that process.
Absolutely.
So then what are the key energy upgrades homeowners should consider? There's so many, again, buzzwords about the different upgrades you can get. So what should people be considering when they're starting on that journey?
So the BER report firstly will tell them what they need to do. So it could be something as simple as upgrading your attic insulation. Then you go into the deeper upgrades, which would be maybe your windows, your doors, external wall insulation. We also look at ventilation as well, because we're obviously decreasing our heat loss in our home, we're upgrading our fabric, so the house obviously has to breathe, so ventilation is a very important element.
So when you're speaking about all these different elements, it can be very easy to get caught up in the technicalities and everything, but really what you offer at Mitsubishi Electric ECODAN is comfort, right? That's what everyone wants, a more comfortable home that's warmer, cozier. So when people come to talk to you, that's really what you're helping them do, is achieve that. Exactly.
So one thing that stood out at the Ideal Home Show last year was after I'd done a talk on the stage, 2 ladies came up to me afterwards, and it was an elderly lady, she was in her early 80s, and it was her daughter. And it was her daughter that was going to put in an air source heat pump, and it came from the recommendation from her elderly mother. And her mother spoke about the high levels of comfort which the air source heat pump gave, but the big take home was the fact that she forgot that she had a heating system, that it was completely self-sufficient, she always had hot water. And this was someone that would have came from a fossil fuel led background, turf sticks, etc. So that was really, really good to see that recommendation was coming from that generation to the next.
That's wonderful to hear, and that's one of the great things about the show. You do get to get up close and personal with the experts like yourself and have those interactions. So for those who are watching who maybe have heard that word heat pump being bandied around a lot, can you explain what it is and why it really works for a lot of homes?
So this is something that you're going to hear a lot if you haven't already heard it, but we all somewhat have a heat pump in our home, or at the very least a technology. Well, that's a refrigerator. So what we're doing is we're typically taking heat from one source and putting it to somewhere else. Our fridge is taking heat from our our food, and then it's getting dumped out the back of the fridge, and that's through the process of refrigeration. So an air source heat pump does the exact same thing. There's always energy in the air, and then we're taking that free energy and we're delivering that into our home for space heating and our hot water. With obviously our fossil fuel led heat sources, heat pumps will always deliver more energy than the energy that you consume, whereas alternative heat sources will do the opposite. So you'll always consume more than the heat that you actually deliver out the other side. So from that point of view, it's a much better added comfort, and economically much better as well, because budget is always an important factor too.
Always a factor, and now more than ever we're all looking at our energy costs and thinking how to future-proof, and it really sounds like a heat pump is a great way to future-proof your home's energy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Shane, how can you at the team at Mitsubishi Electric ECODAN support a homeowner's energy upgrade journey?
So as I said previously, it all starts with contacting ourselves. We take them through the step of the process of which they have to do to get to that point of an air source heat pump. For some people, the journey starts with various small steps. So when I say small steps, small energy upgrades in the fabric before they get to the air source heat pump. When the homeowner or the customer does get to that point, then we're there to provide the proper selection. What size of an air source heat pump goes into the property. We've got a full team in the background at Mitsubishi with our engineers, our after sales and support. We've also launched our service and maintenance division at Mitsubishi Electric. So we're not just looking at designing the system, but we're also looking at the aftercare of the system as well for the homeowner.
Which is so reassuring for people. You know, if this is going to be a big investment or something that maybe people haven't explored before, you really want to feel like you're being looked after from the get-go. So from seeking that first advice that you mentioned to being guided on the next steps, to then, as you say, having the aftercare, it's really a go-to with you guys and the team. Absolutely.
When you think about the targets which we have to hit, so we have to get net zero by 2050, air source heat pumps are the easiest way to get there. So we've 500,000 homes has to have air source heat pumps by that point. We have to have a 50% reduction in our carbon emissions by 2030. So it's very important. There is an onus on us as a manufacturer that, as well as supplying the equipment, that we're looking at the bigger picture of servicing and maintaining it. At the end of the day, it's about the best value for the homeowner, not just on the initial purchase, but on the long run, because they're investing all this. I suppose they're investing their money and their time into getting their homes upgraded, their energy upgrades, so it's just as valuable and important that the equipment matches that service also.
So how do heat pumps then contribute to a greener future, not only in someone's home, but in Ireland in general?
Obviously, with as I spoke about there earlier, we're reducing our carbon emissions, 51% reduction by 2030, which isn't that far away. So if you can imagine, at the minute we've all fossil fuel-led heat sources, we've gas and we've oil, all them carbon emissions are going up into the atmosphere. Heat pumps don't do that. It's a much cleaner source of energy, and we're powering the unit with electricity, and then we're using compressors to generate that heat out the other side. So one of the biggest factors in reducing our carbon emissions is the overheating in our buildings. So fossil fuel-led heat sources are generating high volumes of heat at periodic set times, and that's generating overheating in buildings. Whereas a heat pump is working to much lower temperatures, spread out over a period of time, and it's vastly reducing the overheating in buildings. So that's where we get our level of comfort from, as well as reducing our carbon footprint through the technology.
It sounds like a very economical way of heating a home or a building. As you say, it's not overusing energy. Financially, it's more economical. So it's a real long-term investment for comfort and for finances, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and as we said at the start, it's all about as part of the journey at the very beginning is fabric first. Hold the heat. We work the heat pump to very low temperatures, and we spread that out over a period of time, and that in turn allows the heat pump and the system to work much more efficiently without the overheating in your building. You can imagine with some fossil fuel led heat sources, you're either too hot in your home or you're too cold. It's very hard to try and find that happy medium, whereas a heat pump provides that.
So finally, Shane, you talked a little bit earlier about, not only just in installing these great new upgrades, but the long-term vision, the aftercare. Tell me how people can look to maybe manage the heating in their homes more effectively and efficiently.
Yeah, so Mitsubishi Electric, we've got Melt Cloud Home. And what that does is that allows you to tap into your heating system from your mobile devices, so from your iPads and your mobile phones, etc. And what that will do is you can see your temperatures in your home, you can see what your hot water is currently sitting at, you can boost your hot water, but you can also see how much the system is costing you. So you can see how much you can put in your units of electricity, what that's costing. It will show you your cost of your space heating, your hot water, the combination of the two. But more importantly, we're looking at the service and the bigger picture of the system. If a homeowner says, I was wondering could we do a health check on my system? They can contact Mitsubishi Electric. We can remotely dial into the system and we can see exactly what the system's doing. So it's a very, very important tool, and it's a very useful tool for the end user.
That's amazing, and I guess for homeowners it makes life very, very simple. It's not a very technical, difficult thing if it's on an app on your smartphone or your iPad and you can check in, regulate the temperature, check in, especially on what it's costing you. I mean, that's a fantastic amount of data for someone to be able to plug into. So another great reason to talk to you guys at Mitsubishi Electric ECODAN.
Yes, absolutely, and at the Ideal Home Show, if anyone wants to come up and speak to us about it, by all means, we can show them the product. I'm doing the talks at the show along with one of my colleagues, Dave. So it's a great opportunity for anyone to answer any questions that they may have surrounding the technology.
Well, this conversation has been brilliant just to give people a little bit of a guide on how to get started, but I couldn't agree more. There's nothing better than getting down to the show, speaking to you in person and getting into the nitty-gritty, which I'm sure a lot of people will do after this. So Shane, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
That is all we have time for today. A big thank you to today's experts for taking part in the permanent TSB Ideal Home Show Meet the Experts series and for their fabulous advice. Today's beautiful set was styled by Studio B Homewares, who offer a beautiful range of furniture and sustainable homewares. Their service also includes interior design and home staging. And finally, don't forget, there is an early bird offer of 2 free adult tickets for a day of your choice. This is only available for a limited time, so make sure you register for your tickets as soon as you can at idealhome.ie.